All right, we'll jump in here. I've got maybe 20 minutes. I'm not doing any slides today. I don't like doing a lot of prep work, and you guys don't like looking at PowerPoint slides. So we're gonna walk through, for those of you who aren't as familiar with Keepa, we're gonna walk through just kind of the basics. And if you guys have ISBNs that you want to look at, we can certainly look at those as well. I want to teach you how to interpret the data, kind of understand the story that it tells you, and then how you can make some good decisions as it relates to either sourcing or pricing. So we'll, without much more hurrah, we'll jump in. Matthew said, when were we in Austin? I forget. Everything kind of blends together. I'm pretty sure it was in August. One of our software companies that we use, they just went through Y Combinator and ended up down in Austin, and they had a grand opening, so we went and helped them celebrate. So again, if you guys have questions or just want to say hey, comment below. It's a little bit delayed, so I will try and pick up on stuff as it comes through, and if I miss out on too much, then Matthew will help pick up the pieces. So Keepa and Camel are kind of your two price tracking tools. They show a lot of information. Keepa is constantly innovating. It's actually pretty good stuff. If you guys don't use Chrome or Firefox, I believe they have extensions for both. We're going to be talking Keepa today. A lot of the same stuff applies to Camel, but Keepa seems to have a more extensive database, and they seem to be more on the cutting edge and constantly working on things, so it's nice to see. You can see the little Keepa piece here. You can set up some options in the Chrome tracker as well. Let me just show you the options. So if you don't have it in Chrome, you can go ahead and go to the Chrome store and install that. That's certainly going to help you as you are following along today. You can show some of the graphs automatically. You can set your range. I like to look at typically a year. 3 months is where a lot of people start, but we're going to set up to a year. You can kind of leave most of these alone. Some of the other things you can do is you can show, I guess you can have like a hover set up. You can display the stock for some of the items as well. So there's some Chrome extensions that charge for this, but it's actually free. You can Keepa does a pretty good job of showing a stock, and we'll show you what that means. So you can save out those settings and then kind of go from there. Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to post them just below the video, and I'm going to try and monitor this and go from there. So let me just show you the basics of Keepa for those of you that are newer to it. And then we'll walk through some examples and then just answer some questions and have a good old time. We're going to go for about an hour today. I'll try and cut off at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. That would be 5 Eastern. So for those of you who are watching and playing hooky at work, kudos to you. I won't tell the boss if you won't tell my boss. So here's Keepa. One other disclaimer, I'm drinking iced coffee today. It was beer last time around, but I need a little pick-me-up, not a shut me down. So we're gonna drink some coffee as we go. So this is this is kind of the interface. I've just got a couple examples that I've been tracking within Keepa here. What Keepa is it's beautiful because it shows us the price history of books, and we'll show you exactly what that means, and it shows the rank all in one graph. Now, on the surface level, it's really confusing because you're going to see a lot of colors and a lot of charts going on, a lot of line graphs. Let's break it down and try and make it as unconfusing as possible. So what it is, again, we're filtered out to a year. You can zoom in at 3 months. You can stay at a year. If you want to zoom in closer, you can actually highlight a portion of the graph, and it'll actually show you exactly what you zoomed into. And if you want to further zoom in, you can do that again and see where the prices have been. And then you can set back up to year and kind of see the price history. So what we'll do is each line on the bottom, we've got time range, and again, we're looking at a year. So this will show all the way up through today, which is November 7, 2018. It'll go all the way back through November 7, 2017. What we can do is it'll show the lowest used price. So they're using Amazon's older API. It's called the Product Advertising API. And Keepa essentially sends requests. Typically, it's crowdsourced. So the more often that you or I look at these pages, the better the data gets. But in general, for well-ranked stuff, they're going to be checking it several times a day. Some of the older stuff, they may check it every several days. Again, they're trying to balance their server loads and get that information as well. So what this is, over on the left, we've got price. And so you can see that this particular book during textbook season, so last January, it went really, really high. It went over $300. You can see that for the most part, it was around 90 bucks. After textbook season, it came back down to around 70 and held steady there. Interestingly enough, in August, in the fall, this particular book did not go back up. We did not see that typical textbook price pattern where it goes back up, and this particular book has been here. So this is the used price over time. This book is pretty much tanked in value. $100 a year ago, $300 in textbook season, and we're down under $10 today. This price does not include shipping. So this is the old product advertising API, simply shows the lowest price. So sometimes you'll see a price at a penny plus $5 or $6 or $7 shipping nowadays. There really aren't any penny books left like there used to be due to the fees going up a little bit. So this is going to be the lowest used price, and we'll actually show you some real examples later, so hold tight. So that's the used price. Amazon or Keepa will also show you the lowest new price. Now again, they do not differentiate between merchant fulfilled and FBA. They are simply showing the lowest price that exists. So when you ask Amazon for data with the old product advertising API, they return three prices. The lowest used price, which in this case is the black line, and they plot it over a year so we can see what's going on. They show the lowest new price, and then they also show Amazon's price. So Amazon is going to be orange. You can see that go as well. So what you're going to see here is the blue used new price pretty much is held consistent. It's dropped off a little bit as the used prices have dropped. It's kind of jumped up and down a little bit as well. And then Amazon is fairly static, or they don't change a whole lot. So you usually see a fairly flat line for Amazon. They're orange. So for most of the year, they've been at about $185 to $200. Sometimes when they're trying to dump old stock, you'll see Amazon chase the lowest new offer or the lowest new prime. So a lot of times you'll see Amazon move quite a bit. You'll see quite a bit of volatility. That's usually a good sign that Amazon's dumping stock and they may get out of that book, or they're just trying to chase the lowest price like many of us do with repricers. So that goes on a little bit. So those are the three prices. Again, if you don't care about new, you can turn it off. If you don't care about Amazon, which you should, you could turn that off as well. My particular pricing strategy, we talked about this, I believe, in September's training. We talked about my pricing strategies. I use the lowest used price as a floor, so I'm going to price above that if I'm Prime. I'm assuming that this is usually merchant fulfilled. Again, we cannot tell that based on the chart. And then my ceiling is going to be Amazon. So this is a pretty big range. I'm going to price somewhere between $6 plus shipping and $180. So that leaves a pretty good range. Last but not least, we can see sales rank. For those of you who are used to using Keepa, this is kind of the primary way we see it, where when we see the smile pattern, that means the rank is really good. So let's just turn one price on. Again, Keepa will put price on the left side of the chart. They're going to put sales rank on the right side. So this can be a little bit confusing. So we're going to turn off price. We're only going to look at rank on the right side of the graph. So rank, as you know, is simply a snapshot in time. It's how long ago the book last sold. So if a book has not sold in a while, you'll see it continually go up in rank. And then whenever it sells, it typically drops somewhere in the ballpark of 100,000. Again, not all of these icicles, if you want to call them that, what would that be? Stalactites off the ceiling? Yeah, stalactites. So you're not always going to see this go down exactly to 100,000 because Amazon updates every hour. Keepa is updating, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. They're not updating every hour and watching those drops. So you can see that rank, the more it squiggles, the more it looks like a heart rate, the better it's selling. And if it looks like a smile like this, it's getting really, really good. In this case, under 20,000, then you're looking at some pretty good metrics. That book is selling quite often. For those of you who use Scout IQ, thank you for your business. We appreciate it. We've got a different formula in there rather than trying to show this history on every single book, because that takes a little bit to interpret. We try and show this data graphically in the form of a single number called E-score, and that is essentially the number of sales in the last 6 months. So for this particular book, maybe 15, 30, 40, maybe 45, 50 as an E-score, and that's essentially the number of drops. So how many times that book is selling, or rather how many days with at least one sale. So that is Keepa in a nutshell. Again, it's pretty customizable. You can actually turn this upside down if you'd rather see 0 rank up top. That's how Camel does it. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but some people do that. I'm going to turn it back upside down. I like seeing these smiles. That means that the rank gets really good for a certain portion of the year. So again, sales rank is a snapshot in time. When we get into looking at the charts, it's going to give us a more complete picture. And why is that important? It's going to let us know if a book is priced too high right now compared to where it's been in the past, or maybe if it's priced really low and it's a good arbitrage opportunity, or perhaps if a book is $10 now, but it's normally $50, we don't want to sell it for $10. We want to hold on and wait for it to bounce back up and get what the market price should normally be. Again, past performance is the greatest indicator of future performance, although there's no guarantee. A couple things I want to emphasize. These little smaller ups and downs on the rank are not sales. because sales rank updates every hour and Amazon goes through and cleans their catalog periodically, a lot of times they will refresh the rank. So you'll see that the rank was up here at about 660 and it kind of went down over a couple days to about 615,000. That's not a sale. If it sold, it would have dropped somewhere in the ballpark of 100,000, simply because Amazon is selling 100,000 unique titles every single hour. So that's what rank means in books. If you try and look up rank in other categories such as music or DVD, 25,000 may be the daily selling rank. So 25,000 in CDs, don't quote me on this, is roughly equivalent to 100,000 in books. So whenever we see the rank drop all the way down, this is a sale. These little corrections are not sales. So I know Avery, you'd asked about that, and some other people have chimed in as well. So these little ones aren't sales. Don't be confused. So this is the rank history. This book is selling every time it drops. So in this period, in the off season, from February through May, we don't see a lot of sales. In May and June, we see a handful, probably due to summer school. And then in August, we saw a handful of sales, although not as strong of a smile as we saw in January, which is probably an indication that there are new editions of this book out. This is the 10th. There's probably 11 or 12 or 13 by now. And that's why the rank does not get as strong in the fall compared to the spring. If we zoom out over several years, we can see a lot of these up and down patterns. If you're a stock trader, you love stuff like this because the more a book is selling, it's going to be pretty good as well. Justin, thanks for joining. Going to have to catch up on a replay. Absolutely. We'll have this posted. We'll leave it in the group. We'll also try and put this on YouTube as well. So we can zoom out over a long range of time. Again, I like to look at a year. It just lets me know I'm going to catch any sort of textbooks as well. Sergio says, gotta love those smiles. Absolutely. And Sergio is also at the event in Phoenix. So good to see you here, Sergio, as well. All right, so that is rank. Let's look at a couple other things that are in here. One, we can see the list price. And the list price is usually, again, going to stay stagnant. That's set by the publisher. Amazon's typically going to stay just a little under the list price, so that's not really relevant to me. Let's turn the prices back on. When we put it all together, again, it can be fairly confusing, but green is rank, black is used, blue is new, orange is Amazon. We can show some other pricing as well. We can see good prices. So every once in a while, they'll kind of go through and they're trying to stack in some of the newer API calls and actually show some of the pricing. I don't know that that's super relevant. I certainly don't use it. I'm more concerned with where the market price has been in general. A couple other things that are helpful. They will show you if Amazon Warehouse Deals is on a listing. And here they were actually kind of driving the market down, which if you guys are familiar with them, they like to drive the market down. They went from 35 and they were the one pushing all the way down to 13. It looks like in the off season they're up at about 18 bucks, even though the lowest used price is in the ballpark of 6. So they're kind of holding steady up here. Anytime you see them on a listing, it's kind of an indication that that book may have the kiss of death. They're trying to clear out their rental inventory or a lot of lost inventory from Amazon's warehouses. So if you see them on there, that may be an indication to be careful, tread lightly. Linda says, I haven't started looking at Keepa. It's super helpful. And again, we'll show you how to do it. But if you turn on the Keepa chart within Amazon, on every single Amazon page, you will see a chart like this, and it's full of awesome, useful information. Luke Wynn says, when Keepa smiles, I smiles. Absolutely. Luke, when we playing poker again? That was fun. Luke played a lot of poker back in the day, and I somehow got the better of him. I'm sure he beat me 9 times out of 10. But yeah, last time, thanks for donating to the Book Flipper funds. I guess that'll be the college fund. All right, so if you have questions, post them below. Thanks for those of you who are live and here. That's a little bit of the basics of Keepa. One other thing is it will show you the trade-in value as well. And you can see that most of the time the trade-in value stays at some percentage of the lowest used price. It kind of tracks that black line. There's a reason for that. It's because other people are trying to buy those books. When you trade into Amazon, you're actually not trading to Amazon. Jeff Bezos doesn't really know what to do with books anymore. He's really good at running a marketplace. So you're actually trading into companies like BookBite or Follett or some of the wholesalers as well. Laurel says Amazon used. Yeah, the used price on Amazon. Amazon doesn't sell used exactly. Hector says thoughts on getting Scout IQ on Chrome extension? Possibly. We're looking to possibly integrate with AccelerList so you could get the data right from there. We need to protect our data as well, so I don't know that we'll bust out a true Chrome extension, but we'll see what we can do. Luke says, for all the goodies you give, I don't mind at all. Sweet. Let's play poker again soon, buddy. All right, so those are the charts. Let's actually go through and look at some stories of some different books. So I've just got eFlip pulled up. That'll just be a good way to find some books, and we'll go from there. So let's look for some more expensive books and just show some of the price histories. And let's get some higher ranked stuff as well. So we're just going to do a simple search. We're trying to find books that are $20 or higher and have any kind of rank. So we're going to get a good mix of books here. We'll kind of go through from there. Linda says, is Keepa available on the Amazon seller app or just on a computer? I've seen some backwoods ways to get Keepa to kind of work on your phone, kind of through the seller app, but there's not really a great way to do it, Linda. So it's going to be better on a desktop. It's certainly easier to see the data this way as well. So let's just click through to an Amazon listing, and I'll show you what the Keepa chart looks like. So Keepa, again, will embed this if you turn it on. Again, it looks like this logo. You can go to the Chrome store and the extension store and add it. It's free. And again, it's got the same metrics we've just turned on. And again, you can see green, which is rank. This is really, really good. It's well under 50,000 most of the last year. Black is the lowest used price. You can see it bounces around, but it pretty much hovers in the in the $15, $16 range. New kind of hangs out in the $20 range. And again, Amazon is usually flatline with a few little bumps and bruises along the way, and they're going to be a little bit higher. So again, that lets you know the story. And again, we know this book typically sells for 15 to 20. The rank is really good. If you guys want to talk about, sorry, I'm trying to read your comments and go on this as well. Let me address just a few comments before they disappear. Sergio says, Caleb, what's thoughts on using Scout IQ on an Apple Watch? I love it. We'll look into that. We got some really good stuff coming out. I keep saying soon, but it's soon on teams and triggers, so I can't wait to show those. That will be for sure by the end of the year, if not sooner. Rex says Keepa has different views, sometimes a heart rate, sometimes a squared looking view. Can you elaborate on that, Rex? Happy to answer that. Raymond says, how realistic is it to sell books full-time 100% remotely from your home? So not leaving your home. I ask because I'm in a small farming town and sourcing from big cities can be difficult. I certainly think you should make some runs to the bigger cities, maybe a day or two, or take some big day trips if that's feasible for you. Also, if you find large library sales, it can be worth driving up to several hours or even flying into some of the bigger ones, using FBA, listing those, and getting out. So that can be really helpful. If you want to do 100% OA or online arbitrage, it's doable. You're going to need a pretty good bankroll and some experience. But yeah, we have eFlip software, which helps you do that as well. Yeah, Dan says can take a large upfront cost, certainly. And I would not advocate jumping in unless you have some experience. Let's look at a few more books and just kind of give you the idea of what the Keepa is. And then I want to show you some really expensive books and why Keepa can be pretty helpful when you're trying to look at some of that. This is an interesting one because we see Amazon is actually kind of bouncing all over the place. Again, they normally stay fairly flat. This is the orange line is what I'm looking at. So they have gone from 25 down to 18, up to 26, down to 20. They went as low as 14. So Amazon's kind of been all over on this listing. The black line has been somewhat consistent as well, although a little bit up and down. Again, what I'm typically looking for is the price that the book is at actually where I want it to be? Is the price right now where it's been in the past? If the price is super low compared to where it's been, I'm going to wait and let the price bounce back up. If the price is inflated, which I'll show you in just a minute, then I'm going to try and price it at a realistic level. And Keepa will let us see when it's actually selling. So that's helpful. Also, just a cool little plug for eFlip. We've got a little hover chart now, so if rather than clicking through and trying to see the Keepa charts, you can just kind of hover here, and Keepa kind of helped us with that functionality, which was cool. So you can kind of see the charts for the last year and know if that's a good buy or not. Matthew says he thinks he lost a feed. I believe we're still up and running. Let me know if we're not. Matthew hasn't chimed in at me yet, so I think we're good. Try and refresh your page there, Matthew, if you catch this. So let's show just a few real life examples, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A as well. So let's go look at just what I call stupid expensive books. We're going to look at books that are priced $1,500 or higher. That's extremely rare for a book to be worth that unless it is. All right, Matthew says we're up and running, so cool. It's extremely rare for a book to be super expensive, i.e. over even $400 or $500, unless it's extremely technical, extremely rare, or the title is Margin of Safety. It's kind of a good book to be looking for in the field. So these are some books that are priced at $2,000 used, $2,000 new, and not a lot of offers, which is typically the case on these type of books. What happens is repricers come in and just go crazy, and they'll price it wherever they want. As indication of that, you'll see books like this where the lowest price is $3,000, the lowest new price is $11. So whoever was pricing this used, all three people have somehow kept raising the bar, getting the repricers going crazy, and they're hoping they're going to get that sale. So when you see that, don't get too excited. You're not going to sell a book for $2,000 typically. If someone proves me wrong, I'll buy them. Well, you can buy me a beer. You'll be $2,000 richer. So let's look at some of these and try and explain what's going on. So this is the Keepa chart. We see Amazon. First thing that stands out is the black line is the highest line, which means the used price has consistently been higher than Amazon. Amazon's been on this listing for 30. You see the orange line disappears for the last 2 months, meaning they've stocked out, they're gone. The other thing we could see is, so pretty much one thing I didn't explain earlier as well, let's zoom in on a portion. When the sales rank drops, so when the rank goes from 600,000 to about 150,000, when that happens, Matthew says, didn't you accidentally sell a book for 2,000? I did, we'll come back to that, it's a good story. We see the rank go from 600,000 to 150. That indicates a sale happened right here. Now what we don't know is at what price. So the lowest new price or used price at the time was 130. The lowest new was 30 and Amazon was 30. So I'm guessing that someone didn't sell that book used for 130 when Amazon was on it new for 30. But on a normal book, we still don't know when that sale happened. Let's go look at a normal book again. So on a regular book, we don't know if where that sale happened. Let's kind of zoom in on the off season. Okay, so here we've got a sale. The rank dropped. It went from 300,000 to about 100. And the lowest used was 76. The lowest new was 105. Amazon was 130. So all Keepa tells us is that the rank dropped, meaning a sale occurred. Doesn't know that the book, we don't know if someone bought it from Amazon, if somebody bought the lowest price at 76, or if somebody bought a higher merchant fulfilled price, or even a higher prime price. We don't know. All we know is that a sale occurred. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't break out the details of what happened there. So in this particular case, we know that the book sold, and at least it sold at 30. That's the lowest price period on the book. Probably didn't sell for 130, but that's a good indication. So what happens is when Amazon stocks out and then everybody else stocks out, you can see sales still happened here. Again, these little drops are just corrections. They're not sales. This bigger drop is a sale. It didn't go down to 100,000, but that's because Keepa's not tracking every hour, so they didn't see it. So what happens is the lowest used price came down. It was at 30 bucks. We can see that a sale occurred here, and as a result, somebody probably bought that $30 book and moved the market price. They raised it to 130. So now the lowest price was at 130. It looks like Keepa, for whatever reason, doesn't show us extreme values. So even though the lowest used price is 2,000, it's not here at all. Hector, I'll get back to your repricing question in just a minute. And so the book has not sold since the book has been artificially inflated. So the lowest used is 2,000, lowest new is 2,000. For whatever reason, Keepa's not showing us those prices, probably because they're too high and they're squelching them somehow. But what you can do then is say, hey, the book's 2,000, where should I price this? Well, we can go back and realize that when sales were occurring, when this heart rate, the green line, was going up and down, the Amazon was on it for 30 bucks, the lowest new price was 30, so that kind of seems to be the market price. You could certainly be a little more aggressive since there's not a lot of offers. I would have no problem listing a book like this for 99 bucks, maybe even 199. You have a couple things that can happen. One, someone may be watching this book waiting because they want to buy it, but they're not willing to pay 2,000. As soon as you put a realistic price, and again, we think it's probably worth about 30, but you could put 195, 150, 99 bucks, whatever you want, and maybe someone would buy it because they're willing to pay that versus 2,000, and or possibly somebody is willing to buy it for 200 and think they can flip it for 2,000. Hopefully that's none of you. Hopefully we've trained you better than that, but some people may try and do that. So again, this book typically sells for 30. So if I really wanted to sell mine quickly, I'd probably list it for 29 or 49 and try and blow that out quickly. And that's a good indication. Let's look at some other expensive books. So here's a book, looks like the lowest new is 450. The lowest used is 2,500 and going up from there. So again, let's look at the history on this one. This one's interesting because the lowest used price, or the lowest price period, has historically been about 100 to 300 bucks, and it's selling. So again, a lot of times you'll see books when they drop down in the $100 range. You can see the green line is squiggling, or the heart rate's occurring. When you see that, it's actually selling. Sometimes when the book goes way up, you'll see that the green line continues to rise and no sales occur. However, if we zoom in on a period of time here, we see the rank dropped here, which means somebody bought this book for $367, or they bought it new for $399, or prime for more, we don't know. So this one's interesting because it actually does sell at a very expensive amount. So when you find these books, do not list them at 99 bucks or $49. You're going to be missing that. Dan says there's an option in Keepa that you can see or unsee extreme prices. Oh, nice. Under the Keepa settings website, 4th option down. Let's go look at that. Dan, you're teaching me something new. Appreciate that, brother. 1, 2, 3, 4, filter extreme values. Hey, look at us. Let's refresh the page. Dan, you're the man. Kudos to you. Sweet. Dan, if you don't have Scout IQ peelers, actually Scotty peelers, send me a direct message. I'll mail you a couple. That's a pretty cool tip. I haven't even explored that as much. Dan, you're teaching this one next time. All right, so we've got extreme values. Let's go ahead and zoom in on a period of time here. So again, we see that this book is selling. Here's a sale, so it's sold in the 200 used or 400 new. We don't know which one sold. If we zoom in over here, actually, Dan, didn't you write a Keepa book on how to interpret Keepa charts? I think that was you. If it was, feel free to post a link here. You can go ahead and share that. So if that was not you, ignore that. All right. So here we've got a sale here. Also, sales rank updates typically a few hours after a sale occurs. So this is interesting. So we see the rank drop here. It went from 600,000 to 100,000. That indicates a sale. I don't think it sold at 2,000. The reason for that is because there was a new offer at 460 and then it disappeared and then the rank dropped. So my hunch, if I was a betting man, is I would say that the rank dropped because someone bought this book for 460. So this book does sell for a lot. 2,000, maybe not, but for sure it goes a little bit more. This is also interesting. Somebody probably bought this book, that's why the rank dropped, and then returned it or canceled it, and so the rank actually went back to where it was. So when you see the rank drop and then start that steady climb again, that's a good indication that a sale occurred. When you see the rank drop and then immediately recorrect, it probably did not occur. So I would not factor this as a sale. And then you can see the price went back to a realistic level of 200. It sold. It looks like the sale happened here, a little bit of a lagging indicator. So someone probably bought another copy at 200. Then the price went up and it didn't sell. Now somebody new came on the listing for 200. So again, Keepa tells a really nice story. Lets us see what's going on. And again, this is a sale here. However, it may have sold at 2,000. More realistically, I bet somebody bought a copy at 200 and Amazon took a couple days to ship it. Then the rank actually corrected and came back down. So if you're listing this book, this is not a book I'd go in at a $99 price holder or $199. I would probably price this at $300 or $400 because Keepa shows us that it has indeed sold in the $300 to $400 to $500 range. So that's why it's important to know what's going on. Let's look at a few more high-priced ones, and then if you guys have questions, we'll jump into those. So this is another one where we get some really cheap new books. Anytime they're saying US edition, it's not always a bad sign, but it's not a great sign. So this book has historically been at 90 bucks for Amazon. Let's zoom in for a section. Normally used, this is about 50 bucks, kind of in that 50 to 60. New is 70 and Amazon's 70. And just recently, the price has gone through the ceiling. So this has gone from 100 bucks and now it's $2,000. Again, we see that it's not sold. Again, these small little drops are just corrections as Amazon kind of repositions all of the inventory. So this book has sold. These are drops. The book has been selling in the used range of 80 to Amazon at 95. Amazon's now off the listing. Enough other people sold out and people went crazy, maybe because Amazon's not on it, and raised the price. So if you had this book in your possession, again, you typically want to stay under the new price. Not always if you're Prime. Prime is really powerful, even more powerful than new versus used. But it's this book is probably in the $90 to $150 range if you're going to price it. Again, if you want to be aggressive, maybe you can ask for $199 or even $250. I don't know that you'll get it, but it's worth a shot. Maybe someone will buy it to flip. But again, if you're pricing this is historically sold in the $50, $60 to $100 range. So that's why it's important to understand Keepa. That'll let you know where to price stuff in the past, as well as if it's a textbook. If you see those really nice smile patterns in the graph, that's going to be a really good indicator. Let's go show just a few of those. I always say I'm going to talk for 10 minutes and then I talk for a half hour. Sorry, not sorry. Let's look at a few more expensive-ish textbooks. So eFlip's got a known database of textbooks. We actually redid this before we used college syllabi, and pulled books in and talked to publishers and talked to bookstores and wholesalers and tried to find a list of books that were typically being sold to colleges. We actually redid it, and now we actually only show books that have some sort of seasonality in the last year. So we kind of redid. We got really smart. I've got some smart people that are really awesome and let me pay them good money to come up with this stuff. So here we've got some nice seasonality. We got that little smile in August, as well as the price goes up. So what you want to do when you're pricing your books is typically this book in the off season is $3 to $10, $3 to $5. During the textbook season, during the fall, it goes up to 15 used. Amazon's on it for 16, so we're going to price it probably 15, 15.50, and try and get close to Amazon without going over. And that's where we're going to get the sale. So if you're pricing this in the spring, in April or May, you definitely want to wait and price it not at $3 or $5 or $6. You want to sell it up closer to where it's going to be. And again, in the spring, we don't really see that smile pattern. We see a little bit of a smile, so it does sell a few more times, but typically this is a fall textbook. So whenever you're listing books, especially if it looks like it may be some sort of a textbook, you know, science, or it has like Macmillan or McGraw-Hill as the publishers, you want to look at that. This one, again, is pretty much selling all the time. It's well under 300,000 most of the year, and it did get stronger in September. So that's an indicator that it's going to be somewhat famous or somewhat better selling come textbook season. So that's why it's important to understand Keepa. All right, let's take your questions. It is 2:34, and we'll stay on for another 26 minutes and have a hard cutoff at 3 p.m. So if you guys have questions, post them in the comments below, and we'll try and take as many as we can. Ronnie says, hey, how's it possible that many times serious sellers price a used book more expensive than Amazon? That's really due to a repricing limitation. A lot of the repricers do not see Amazon's price. It's a little bit harder to find in some of the APIs. And so sometimes the repricer just doesn't have that as an option to stay under, and you're just going to be flying blind. So typically repricers will look at other market prices, and if somebody else is on a book for $2,000, then they're gonna reprice it at $19.99 and $1,999, undercut them by a penny or a dollar, and hope that they get the sale without looking at historical data or without looking at Amazon's price. If someone came out with a repricer that used artificial intelligence to really maximize the value of everything and understand the past history by looking at Keepa graphs, that would be money. I would pay for that. Rizzo says, what does it mean when the bestseller rank or the sales rank line is not present, but the ranking number is still good? Example, rank shows 1 million without a best-selling rank line. Rizzo, I've not seen that before. My hunch is that you turned off sales rank like this. So the book will have a rank. If you go to the product information, it'll actually show you a rank down here. So you'll see this book is ranked 69,000. So my hunch is, and again, Keepa will show up in here as well on the actual product page. My hunch is that you just need to turn the rank on when it comes to Keepa. That's my guess. If you have an example, feel free to show that. Adam says, is there a correlation we can expect between rank and e-score and the number of new listings to expect after we list? Reason being, you mentioned shooting for bottom 5 prices. Yep. Lately, my strategy has been to get as much as I can, as long as I can expect it to sell within 2 months, actually with the expectation of new sellers pushing me out to 3 to 4 months, but still selling for the most money possible. So you're trying to see, can we know if more people are going to be on the listing? Is that what you're asking? So you're basically saying how many new sellers will come on a book by the time I'm expecting mine to sell. We don't really know that data. One thing within Keepa that's actually pretty powerful, we can click on more historical data, and we can actually see the rating of the book, which who cares, but we can actually see the number. Again, black is used, blue is new. We can see the number of offers on this listing. So typically when the rank gets really good, we'll see the number of offers drop off as people sell out. This is not completely telling. For those of you who trade stocks, we've got our price up top, and we've got our volume down below. It's not exactly accurate because one seller could have 50 units and it's not going to show up here. It's just going to show up as one used offer count because that's all that Keepa can see. So it doesn't know that there's 50 sellers, but there's 200 copies total as well. But you can certainly see this drop off. Let's look at a few more textbooks actually. We may need to find some more expensive ones actually. Let's go look up just a little bit higher. to answer your question in a nutshell, no, I don't know of a great way to know if more people are coming on the listing. I do know that the more sellers that are on there, the more likely there are to be cheaper prime prices, just because there's more competition. It's supply and demand 101. Here's a good example. A lot of people are stocking up, and then as the rank gets good in January, we see that the number of offers drop significantly. This could be actually due to long-term storage fees. Anytime we see something drop off significantly, Amazon probably changed the fees in mid-February, which, if memory serves me correctly, they did. And so actually probably a lot of people just got off the listing. You'll see that this book is selling consistently. People will ramp up again as we get to textbook season, and then during textbook season it's sold out. So we went from 87 individual used sellers on the listing down to 57. So we lost about a third of the sellers, which is pretty cool. So that's good, and then again, you'll see it ramp up. This is pretty indicative of seasonality. And again, if we looked at this, the fewer sellers there are, the better. So as we get more and more used sellers over time, over the last several years, we can expect that the price will drop, which we can see this has steadily been declining with a few rises and falls, as you would expect in textbook season. So that, yeah, pretty common there. Avery says, do you buyback companies use Amazon data to generate buyback prices? I've noticed price jumps in buyback offers after I buy a low book, which makes me think other companies are scraping Amazon's data. Absolutely. So buyback companies are either selling to a wholesaler, which has kind of a stagnant price for about 6 weeks. And so if a wholesaler is willing to pay 50, then they might pay 40 and make a 25% margin, 10 divided by 40. So those are one way to set market pricing. The other is to look at the biggest market, which is Amazon. And so if someone's algorithm is going to look at this particular book and see that it's $45 and the rank is 200,000, 300,000, they're going to be willing to pay a percentage of that. So if we look at the trade-in value, it pretty much mirrors the lowest used price, because they're using the better the rank, the closer they're going to get to the used price, and the worse the rank, as it goes up, they're going to start getting a little bit further away. So again, they're going to use market data either from wholesalers or Amazon to do that as well. I got 2 fun stories which we'll share, but I'll answer your questions first. Jeff Newland says, brand new follower, welcome aboard. Do you recommend a repricer? If so, which one? Yes and no. If you don't have a lot of inventory, don't waste your time or money. And you can also get into a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. There's a lot of things to learn, and I think your time is better spent buying more books, as my buddy Greg Murphy says, and to learn how to improve your listing and your processes. Once you have several hundred books in inventory and it's pretty difficult to keep up with everything, then by all means get a repricer. Amazon does have a free one. However, Amazon wants to make books cheap for the customers. And so what they're going to do is they're going to drop you to your floor price immediately if somebody else is competitive on the listing and they are hesitant to raise that back up. So be pretty careful when using Amazon's repricer. It is free. You do get what you pay for. Reprice It kind of seems to be the best thing out there when it comes to books, just because it's more customizable. And books, as Reezy says, are high beta, meaning a lot of books don't sell every day. They don't sell all that often. And so it's not necessarily important to be the cheapest price all the time. You may want to reposition yourself and wait, especially if you're prime, you might want to wait for the right buyer to come your way. So Jeff, long answer, long. You don't necessarily need a repricer, but if you're going to get one, make sure you do the homework and understand what it can and can't do, because there are lots of limitations with Amazon's data. Brian Campbell, what's up, buddy? Caleb, what would you advise when neither Keepa nor Camel shows data? Good question. Again, both services are crowdsourced. So by going to a product page, you will actually sort of trigger a chart to jump in and go there. So if you go to a book that doesn't have any data, you'll see it stay here like no data available. That just means that not a lot of people are looking at it, at least nobody that has the Chrome extension. Thanks to you, they're going to then scrape that information and start tracking it. But if you don't see it, that's usually a good indicator that there's not much demands. And your best bet is really just to look at the current rank. It's not the best metric. With Scout IQ, we may have an e-score for it. We get some data from Keepa, but we build it ourselves. We don't want to be reliant on any third-party data. So check Scout IQ, see if it's got an e-score. If not, just use rank. Again, key metrics in rank, 100,000. If it's under that, it's pretty much selling every day, or at least several times in the last day. If it's at 100,000, it just sold about an hour ago. If it's between 100,000 and 1 million, it's sold in the last couple days. 1 million is it sold 5 days ago. So 1 million doesn't get my panties in a wad, if you want to say that. I don't wear panties, if anybody's curious. But Yeah, if it's roughly 1 million, it sold about 5 days ago. 2 million, it sold 2 to 3 weeks ago. So I don't get too concerned. And if it's if it's a 10 million ranked book, then you want to be careful and maybe not list it or maybe do merchant fulfilled. Rizzo says he's got an ASIN for us. This is a product, not a book, but shows what I'm referring to. So let's look at all products on Amazon, and let's go look up this ASIN. So this is a frame. That's all. Looks like it's a tech frame. Maybe it's anyway. Let's go look at the Keepa chart. See what you're asking. Matthew says to each your own. Yeah, Rex, no, whatever, man. A lot of people from the Booksellers conference. That's great. Avery says he wears panties when he canoes. Avery, what you do when you canoe is up to you, my friends. Okay, Rizzo, I can't go back and see the old comments right now. So if you're still watching, this is your particular question. Go ahead and ask that question again, or Matthew Osborne, if you're on there, if you can help me with that. So, you're saying there's no rank on this particular one. So this one, Keepa, for whatever reason, is tracking the price, but they're not tracking the rank. Let's go see if they have a rank. Well, we're on the product page, so let's go there. Yep, I got you, Rizzo. Sorry, I forgot the question momentarily. So let's go down and see if it has a sales rank. Looks like it does, so 2,500 in camera and photo. So this particular one, I don't know. For whatever reason, Keepa does not have it. I'm assuming Camel doesn't either, because you could check there. There's no rank history, so we don't know. What you'd have to then look up is what does that rank mean in that category. So within camera and photo, what is a decent rank? And I don't know if 2,000 is really good or really bad. It's probably good. That's a really low number. The lower, the better. But no, I don't have any great feedback. Again, you want to try and compare it. Every category has the equivalent of 100,000 in books. If you're in Canada, 100,000, it means it's roughly 1 million in the US. It's about 10 to 1. So in Canada, if a book sells one copy, it's going to drop roughly to 10,000. In the UK, if a book sells one copy, it's going to drop roughly to 50,000. It's about half as big as the US market. So just understanding your baseline in each category is going to be helpful. All right, if you guys have questions, again, I don't see anything coming through. Go ahead and post those below, and I'll share 2 quick stories. So one, Avery, you'll like this one. This is about one time we we cheated, but we kind of gamed the system. So we had a pile of books at work. I think they were ranked 4 or 5 million. They had not sold very recently, maybe 1 or 2 copies a year. I had a stack of them. They were brand new. Work was throwing out a case, maybe 30 or 40 books, and I'm like, what can we do with them? Well, I could list them. I think they were $100 at the time. Could list them for $100, but it's going to sell 1 copy a year, and I'm going to sit on them until I'm 80 and maybe sell them all. Or what we could try and do is sell them back on Bookscouter. So we pulled up the ISBN on Bookscouter, and no one was buying it. So I'm not real proud of this. This was about 3-4 years ago. I think I'm past the statute of limitations. But what we did back then is actually my boss at the time was getting into Amazon as well. So Ryan, if you're watching this, what's up, buddy? I had him buy a book from me, merchant fulfilled. So we listed it. What we did then is the rank dropped from 5 million to roughly 100,000, because that's what happens. So I shipped him a book, or told Amazon I shipped him a book. Off we went. The rank dropped. We waited a couple hours and went back to Bookscouter, and the wholesalers, or the people buying the books, because their systems weren't sophisticated enough to look at that, all they looked at is rank and price. So they saw a $100 book, 150,000 sales rank, and were willing to offer, I don't know, $10, $15 for the book. And so we offloaded as many as we could. Again, not super proud of that, but free market, I suppose. So we kind of tricked the system into thinking that there was a sale, which there was. And again, if you don't look at historical data and you just look at a snapshot in time, you can get tricked. So whoever company I dumped those off on, I apologize if you're watching this. The other story relates to selling a $2,000 book. So I was doing an experiment where I was listing a bunch of books and trying to look at how Amazon shares the data. When you list a book on Amazon and have it, even if it's merchant fulfilled, Amazon will give you more data than through the regular API. So we were trying to experiment with that. This is why a lot of times you'll see books listed for $2,000 or $3,000. We did it for a bit. I didn't own a single one of the books, but we listed, I don't know, 300,000 books at $2,000 just to see what kind of data we could get back from Amazon. So obviously we didn't have any of the books. If someone bought it for $2,000, I was just going to go to Bookfinder, find a copy for $100 or $200 worst case, and flip it, or just cancel the order and take the hit on my metrics. So we did that, and we actually earned the buy box. There was nobody prime on a listing. We were merchant fulfilled, and the cheapest used price and the cheapest new. Amazon gave us the buy box. They didn't hide it, and somebody bought a copy for $2,000 through the buy box. So we went back and looked. Someone was brand new on the listing for $75. And again, because they clicked the used buy box, again, people are monkeys, like Greg says. They just go in and click. They don't really think about it. And so they went in and clicked the used buy box thinking it was the cheapest one, and they bought our book. So we contacted them first. I didn't want to drop ship a book for $75 and make $1,700. That's not super ethical in my opinion, even though I'm selling books back to buyback companies. But we contacted the seller, and sure enough, it was an accident, and we let them know they could cancel and buy a brand new copy for $75. So that's the power of the buy box. And I suppose you can make a business out of doing that and drop shipping, but that goes against Amazon's terms. Adam says, how often do you retire your Scotty peeler? For a fresh one, I hate the thought of trashing and try and clean them up. If you get the metal ones, they are awesome and they will last a long time. Be careful, you can cut the book or cut yourself. I've got a pile of these plastic ones, so I've got kind of an unlimited disposal, and they do get scuffed up. I don't know if you can see it, but they get a little scuffed up. I use them as long as I can. They'll last, I don't know, several months before I try and pitch them and get rid of them. Avery says, I think a lot of them, being the book wholesalers probably, are still looking at a snapshot in time. Definitely. My offer is almost always more after I inadvertently bring up the market price by picking out the outliers. Sure. So if you're selling back to them, you could certainly buy the prices, buy the books, and then kind of look from there. The more sophisticated the wholesaler or the book buyback company, the more data points they're going to look at. So they're not just going to look at Amazon. They're going to look at historical data. They're going to use some data from Keepa. They're going to look at eBay and other markets as well and kind of get a better market. But a lot of times they're working directly with bookstores. And so you can find a book on Amazon for $20 and they're willing to pay you $30 or $40 because they have a different customer in mind than just selling back on Amazon. Rex says, can you cross-list your US inventory for Canada, Mexico, UK, or does it have to stand alone? Probably the easiest way to do this. I know they've been trying to promote cross-listing within North America. That would be Canada, US, Mexico. And I think they will do it for you out of the US warehouse. However, they may want you to send some inventory to other warehouses. I know for sure that in the UK, you can access it through the US. The issue there is most of our books are one-off. I find a copy of Side Hustle, and after I'm done reading it, I'm ready to sell it. I'm going to list it in the US market. Well, I don't have 15 copies that I can send 5 to Canada and 6 to Mexico and keep the rest here. I'm just going to list it in the US. So the best thing you can do is turn on the worldwide export program. And so Rex, that's a really good option, is to do that. I sell, don't remember, I think it's 4 or 5% of my business. It may be a little higher, go outside the country. And if you simply turn that on within your settings in Seller Central, that can open up your sales. The buyers will pay for the shipping. It doesn't cost you any extra, and it's your same inventory. So that turn on the global export or worldwide export. It's pretty good. Any other questions you guys have? We'll be on for about 9 more minutes. Otherwise, we can wrap this up. Okay, Adam says, your thoughts on the, hey, we'll get the money Amazon owes you services. So refunds manager, there's a lot of them. Seller Locker, I think, is newer. The reports to find out whether Amazon owes us money are so deep. I see why those companies exist. It's always easier to trust Amazon, which I read isn't always great. Yeah, Amazon, I don't know if they're nefarious and trying to just dupe you and take your money, or if they handle so much inventory it's nearly impossible to have the controls in place. You guys can read through the lines on that one. I don't know. But Amazon certainly loses inventory. Some of it goes stranded, and or they don't reimburse you fully. So someone will return a book, Amazon takes the money and credits it back to them and debits it from your account. I won't get into accounting. They're actually crediting it to your account, but I digress. So they take the money out of your account. If that person doesn't return it within 45 or 60 days, whatever the window is, Amazon's supposed to give you the money back. A lot of times they just forget, or they don't notice, or again, I don't know. There's these services like Refunds Manager, I think is the one I use, and they'll actually go back in and look through all of those cases for you. It's not allowed to be automated anymore, so they actually have to use, they have to access your account. I think it's called user permissions, like prep companies, and they will go in and actually fight for reimbursements for you. They'll have a real person submit a real claim on your behalf through your account, and Again, you can limit the data they see, so they're not going to see your sales. They can't mess around too much. They can't access your bank account. But they'll go in, and usually for 20 to 30%, they will fight for refunds. It's pretty nice. And again, I've got other things I'm tackling in my business, like finding more books and dealing with repricers and handling everything else. So I'm going to go in there, and I'm happy to pay them for the service. I'll post a link below as well. I've got an affiliate link for them. We get anywhere between 500 and $1,000 back a month. They're making good money off us, and I'm happy to pay it because they're finding us money. So again, I don't pay a monthly fee for that service. I know they have some services that are monthly. I like just paying a portion. If you can get me $1,000, I'll pay you $250 gladly. So I think those services are good. Again, I want to have as little thinking in my business as possible. I want to be focused on building relationships, finding more books, and I want to have systems in place for everything else, including repricers. Again, I don't love them, but you got to do something, and so you got to figure out, research your options, and do something. Avery says, when's the next conference? I believe March. It'd be February 28 to March 2. We're going to try and do Vegas. We're looking maybe to get a bigger area on the strip and have a bunch of people come out, but it's not cheap to do. So we may get a killer Airbnb again, Airbnb, and try and get 25, 30 people out there as well. Avery says, what other websites you stay away from doing online arbitrage? I got screwed by textbooksx.com with the global edition, and it's up to the seller whether or not I get refunded. That's why I love buying on Amazon. They protect the sellers. eBay is starting to get better at it, but Amazon always protects, the buyer. They protect the buyer. And so it sucks as a seller. I lose out on some sales. There's some dishonest people. So be it. It is what it is, and I can't control it. So I can either be butthurt over it, or I can just, change my mind and say, oh well, it's just part of running business. So I buy from Amazon. I don't really buy from the other websites because I don't know if they're going to protect me or not. Rex says 3 of the last 7 returns I've had sent back to me were products I never sent in. How many of you have seen this? I've had car parts sent back to me. I've never sold car parts on Amazon. I've had random things. Again, Amazon's dealing with millions of products a day. It's estimated, I heard this year, Americans are going to spend $1 trillion on e-commerce for Christmas. $1 trillion. So all the volume going through Amazon, there's no way they're going to get everything 100% correct. 3 out of 7 is pretty bad. You can ask for reimbursements on those, show a picture and say, hey, this wasn't what I had. So if it was a $100 textbook, make sure they're giving you that value. Guys, any last questions? 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left in the game, and we'll be done. How many of you are glad election season is over? I don't want to see any more ads. Also, college basketball started. If anybody watched, I'm a Michigan State guy. We came up just a little short last night. Weren't really sharp against Kansas, but it was fun to watch. And watch out for Duke. They may go undefeated. They are really good. They're really young. Aldo, says, you may have touched on it, but which repricer? Aldo, I'm kind of using my own repricer. Sorry, it's not commercially available. We may make it commercially available, but sorry, it's something I'm kind of using and working. If anybody wants, I don't want to open this up to everybody, but if you've got a decent amount of inventory and want to apply Scout IQ triggers to repricing strategies about once a week or every other week, drop me a PM. We can work out something and kind of beta test it. But right now it's spreadsheets and databases, so it's not sexy. If you guys just posted comments, can you post them again? They're moving too quickly, and I don't think I can go back and see them. Ruben says, my Red Sox won the World Series. I'm set for the year. Attaboy. I'm not really a baseball guy, but that's pretty cool. Be nice to win some championships. I'm a Tigers guy, I guess, if I really care. Any last questions? Post those here. Sorry, 3 or 4 just went through. Matthew, if you can still see them, can you post those for me? I don't think I can go back, but if someone can help, that would be great. Kenneth says, I live in the Midwest. Every 50 pounds of books in a single box has me send to 3 to 4 different warehouses, so lots of split shipments. I'm doing large sending now and paying the 10 to 15 cents per item to send to the same place. If you're doing inventory placement, it's costing you more than that. It's probably 45 cents an item. It's 35 minimum plus 10 cents per pound over a pound, so be careful. You might be paying a lot more than you think. How often are shipments missing items, says Luke? I'm missing an average of 1 per box. I think it happens. You might want to check your systems. But yeah, certainly ask for refunds on those. Sergio says, when is hidden mode? We are testing right now. Very, very soon. For sure by the end of the year. I hope sooner. Otherwise, I'm not going to be, I won't be really happy. But we're very, very close. Kenneth says can't find any videos on larger shipment, so how to do like LTL. Reezy's done a video on LTL. You can look that up. Reezy resells. Ben Miller has a pricing question. We'll look at that and maybe wrap up on this. But Kenneth, check out Reezy resells. Check out some of those videos as well. Matthew, hidden mode is a way to set up your credentials and hire a scout to go scout for you and not see the data. So that's kind of fun. Kenneth says thank you. Absolutely. But yeah, hidden mode, Matthew, so you can hire employees. So Ben Miller, good question. This is a book that has no sales. So let's actually click. Well, we can't click through. There's no data. Let's look at the last 344 days, and we have maybe a used price once for 50,000. Someone just threw a price out there just for kicks and giggles. This book is not sold in the last year. That's all we have data for. It was 7 million rank a year ago, and now it's up to 9.4. So in this particular area as well, we don't know. We don't know what this price is going to sell for. What I would do, Ben, is actually take this and go to bookfinder.com and plug it in and see if it's available on any other market. So Bookfinder or AdAll are good markets. We can plug the ISBN, and it'll search a bunch of markets. This book's not out there, so you get to set the market price, my friends. I would maybe, again, I like high prices, 99, 199. Even though it's a kid's book, it's probably not worth that. It is CreateSpace as the publisher, which means Anna Plusinski decided to self-publish. So there's not a lot of inventory. You could certainly try and list it. I'm guessing it's probably a $15 or $20 book typically, but you get to set the market prices. So have at it. Rex says hidden mode available for laptop and a scanner. Nope, just an app. You can emulate an app on your computer if you'd like, or you can even run it on a tablet, but that's going to be it. Yep, Matthew, I already got Luke's question. If anything else pops up, that's great. Ben says nice, thanks. You betcha. Guys, thanks for your time. I know many of you are at work or you got better things to be doing, but I appreciate you spending an hour of your day with us. And yeah, thanks for being here, and we will catch you again real soon. Have a good one. Adios.